Hello to all. Hope so you all are well. And if you are new to the channel, you can subscribe the channel and also you can share and like the videos. Today I am here with a jumbo video based on the reproductive health. On this topic, at least 2 or 3 questions are asked in the NEET exam. Though it's a small topic, but at least 2 or 3 questions. And 2 and 3 questions makes an important role in your selection. Alright, so I am here with the complete video based on the reproductive health. Though it will be a little long video, so have patience and right from the beginning up till the end, join this video. So, if somebody asks you that what is reproductive health, so a person who is not acquainted to the biology, what he or she will say? He or she will say that reproductive health means what? Healthy reproductive organs with normal functions. Now, so what he will say? Healthy reproductive organs with the normal functions. But of course, it is true that reproductive organs must be healthy. But this is not the exact definition. The exact definition according to the World Health Organization for the reproductive health is that according to WHO, reproductive health means a total well-being in all aspects of reproduction. What it means, reproductive health means a total well-being in all aspects of reproduction, that is physical, emotional, behavioral and social. Means an organism who is fit physically, emotionally, behaviorally and socially, that organism will be called as a reproductively healthy organism. Alright. Now, therefore, we can say it as a society with the people having physically and functionally normal reproductive organs and normal emotional and behavioral interaction among them in all sex related aspects might be called as the reproductively healthy. Is it clear? So this is the definition of the reproductive health. Alright. Now when we are talking about the reproductive health, then there are many problems related to this reproductive health. And also the government has developed certain strategies to solve these problems. So in this chapter, very first we'll be talking about the problems related to the reproductive health, and then we'll be talking about the strategies which have been developed by the government to solve these problems. Alright. Now what are the reproductive health problems? I have discussed some of the major problems related to the reproductive health. The first one is the overpopulation. This is a problem related to the reproductive health. This is the biggest problem of India. Alright, that the India population size is too much big, and you know very well that this overproduction or the overpopulation has many drawbacks and it creates a problem for the nation. So it is the problem related to the reproductive health. Now the government will make certain strategies to control this overpopulation which is happening in India. Second problem related to the reproductive health is early marriage in India. As soon as in many areas in India, as soon as a girl becomes sexually mature, means she entered the puberty age, she is married. Alright. And you know very well that whenever the early marriage is done, then it may create many problems. Say for third point is health of problems, health of the mothers. Say for if a girl is married in the early age, at the age of the puberty, then that mother may suffer from many diseases. Alright. And the fourth is that deformities. A girl who is married early at the age of the puberty or at the age of 14 or 15 and if she is giving birth to the children's, then that children's might be having many deformities or abnormalities. Also, when the marriages are done in the early ages, then the maternal mortality rate, which is also called as in short MMR, and the infant mortality rate will be very much high, right? The maternal mortality rate and the infant mortality rate in India is high just because the girls are actually married at early ages. Now, STDs, sexually transmitted disease. When a couple is married in the young ages, that couple will not be having the knowledge about the reproductive organs, right, and about the problems related to the reproductive health, and they may suffer from these sexually transmitted disease. In the forthcoming section, we will be discussing certain sexually transmitted disease are there: syphilis, gonorrhea, AIDS and all. And it has been seen that STDs are more common in the children's or the people who are between the age of 15 to 24. They are more vulnerable to the STDs. Alright. So these are the problems. Now government has planned many strategies to solve these problems. Alright. And at least we'll be studying 9 to 10 strategies in this section. Number one strategy is the family planning program. As you know very well, the major problem for the India is the overpopulation. We have crossed 130 crores. Alright. So family planning programs were established by the government. Family planning programs were established in the year 1951, and India was the pioneer in establishing these programs, alright, to control the population. At present, these programs are popularly named as RCH. RCH means what it represents: reproductive and child health care programs. Alright. Number two strategies is the awareness about reproduction related aspects. The major problem is that majority of the people are illiterate and they are not having the proper knowledge or the awareness about the reproduction related aspects. So government is actually creating awareness in the people with the help of certain audio visual and print medias, and the government is educating, it is awareing the people about the reproduction related aspects, because if they will be having the proper knowledge, then there will be deficiency seen in the problems related to the reproductive health. Number three, government is planning for the sex education to be delivered in the schools. Right from the school level, the children must be given the sex education. Alright, why? Because there are many myths and misconceptions. Related to the aspects of the reproduction. Many myths and conceptions, and because of the myths and the misconceptions, that leads to many reproductive problems in the couples. So government is planning to give the sex education right from the childhood in the schools, so that the children may be knowing about the myths and misconceptions related to the reproductive health. Fourth is proper information about reproductive organs. Government is trying to aware the people about the reproductive organs. Proper information about the reproductive organs. Government is trying to deliver the knowledge about the adolescence and the changes which occur in this age, because adolescent is the stage between the 10 to 18. Okay, so proper information about reproductive organs, adolescence and the changes related to this adolescent stage. Safe and hygienic sexual practices. Information about the STDs, sexually transmitted disease, AIDS, etc. will help people to lead a a healthy reproductive life. Means they must be given information about all these aspects. Educating fertile couples. Those fertile couple means those people who are in the marriageable age. Alright. Educating fertile couples about the available birth control options, because people are not knowing, because of the illiteracy, they are not knowing about the options available for the birth control. And because they are not knowing, then what will happen? They will be producing the children, and it will lead to the overpopulation in India. So educating fertile couples about the available birth control options. Also educating the fertile couples about care of the pregnant mothers, so that what will happen? The maternal mortality rate will decrease. Postnatal care of mother as well as child, which will reduce the MMR, maternal mortality rate, and infant mortality rate. Importance of the breastfeeding. You know very well, breastfeeding is very important for the young one. Okay. And equal opportunities for male and female child, because in India there are many regions where the couples kill the girl child before the birth or just after the birth. So they must be giving proper knowledge that it doesn't matters that whether a girl child is born or a boy child is born. There must be equal opportunities given for both the girl child as well as the boy child. Alright. So this is the fifth point. And the sixth point is awareness of problems. Awareness of the problems due to uncontrolled population growth, social evils like sex abuse and sex related crimes need to be created to enable people to think and take necessary steps to build the healthy reproductive society, because it is a scar on the healthy society, these social evils like sex abuse and the sex related crimes. Alright. So family planning program, awareness about reproductive related aspects, sex education, proper information about the reproductive organs, educating fertile couples about the available birth control options, and awareness of problems due to uncontrolled population growth, social evils like sex abuse and the sex related crimes need to be created to enable people to think and then take necessary steps to build a healthy reproductive society. So we have discussed 6 points. Now coming to the 7th point. Now see the 7th strategy, which is very, very important. Successful implementation of the various action plans. See that government is making various plans, right, to develop a healthy reproductive society. So for the successful implementation of the various action plans to attain the reproductive health requires the infrastructural facilities, alright, in the form of the big hospitals and all. Infrastructural facilities, professional expertise means trained doctors and nurses, and the material support also. Now because of this infrastructural facilities, what will happen? So these are essential to provide the medical assistance and care to the people in reproduction related problems like the pregnancy, delivery, sexually transmitted diseases, abortions, contraceptions, menstrual problems, infertility, etc. Right? And implementation of the better techniques, implementation of the new techniques in the field of the medical sciences, implementation of the better techniques and new strategies from time to time are also required to provide more efficient care and assistance to the people. So this is also very, very important strategy which the government of India is following at present, and we are now developing the better infrastructure facilities, and nowadays the medical tourism is going on and many people from the abroad are coming in India to take the medical facilities, because we are having good medical facilities and at a cheaper rates. Now 8th one, research in reproductive health area. Now the scientists and the doctors are regularly indulged in producing certain new researches in the field of the reproductive health. So research in reproductive health area, this is an example given here which is very important. It should be encouraged and supported to find out. It should be encouraged and supported to find out new methods. Say for, we are quoting an example here of a research done in India based on the reproductive health area, and that is a pill known as the Saheli. Saheli, a new oral contraceptive pill for the females, was developed by our scientist at Central Drug Research Institute, in short known as the CDRI, Central Drug Research Institute in Lucknow. It is once a week pill. And it is not having so much of the side effects. It is having very little side effect, alright, but it is a very good oral contraceptive developed by the CDRI, alright. So researches are going on in this field. Ninth one, medical facilities. This is also important strategy, that is the medical facilities. Better awareness about sex related problems. Prenatal care of the mother. Prenatal means before the birth. Medically assisted deliveries. Postnatal care of the mother and the infant will decrease the maternal and the infant mortality rate in India. Small families should be encouraged. Better detection and cure of sexually transmitted diseases, and encouraged and increased medical facilities for sex related problems, etc. indicate the improved reproductive health of female and the male individuals and the children. So these are the medical facilities. And the last strategy is the amniocentesis, which is nowadays misused in the India. So we will be now knowing what is the meaning of the amniocentesis, what is its meaning, what is its use, and what is the procedure to do the amniocentesis. Very first I am discussing that what is the meaning of amniocentesis and what is its use. Amniocentesis is a fetal sex determination. Remember this thing, that amniocentesis is a fetal sex determination, and disorder test based on the chromosomal pattern in the amniotic fluid which is surrounding the developing embryo. Again I am repeating, what is amniocentesis? Amniocentesis is a fetal sex determination and disorder test which is based on the chromosomal pattern in the amniotic fluid which is surrounding the developing embryo. This is basically the meaning and the use of the amniocentesis. Now we must know that what is the misuse of the amniocentesis at present in India, as well as what is the procedure of the amniocentesis. Now we have discussed the meaning and the use of the amniocentesis. Now what is the procedure of the amniocentesis? Look here. Now procedure, amniotic fluid. You know very well, embryo is surrounded by the amniotic fluid. So the amniotic fluid contains cells from the skin of the fetus. Amniotic fluid contains cells from the skin of the fetus and the other sources. So these cells can be used to determine the sex of the infant. These cells can be used to determine the sex of the infant, to identify some abnormalities in the number of the chromosomes, and to detect certain biochemical and enzymatic abnormalities. Fine. Now if it is established that the child is likely to suffer from a serious incurable congenital defect, congenital means since birth, then the mother is advised to get the fetus aborted. So we can say that amniocentesis is useful also because it can detect the disorders. But nowadays in India as well as all over the world, amniocentesis has been misused. Basically the amniocentesis was used to know the abnormality in the fetus, and if it is found abnormal, then it was advised to the female to abort that child. But the misuse of amniocentesis has been done now. it is being used to kill the normal female fetus. It is now being used to kill the normal female fetus. Or okay, because there are many regions in India as well as outside India also where the people are trying to kill the female fetus. Alright, so it is being used to kill the normal female fetus, and that's why it is legally banned for the determination of the sex to avoid female feticide. So to avoid female feticide, it is amniocentesis is legally banned, particularly for the determination of the sex. Alright, fine. So this all were the strategies which are actually used by the governments to solve the problems related to the reproductive health. Now, population explosion. Now, as we know very well that around the world population is increasing. Development in various fields significantly improve the quality of the life of the people, because we know very well nowadays the life of the people have significantly increased. The quality of the life of the people is been increased. Why? Because they are getting medical facilities, proper nutrition and all. So the development in various fields significantly improved the quality of the life of the people, and because of the increased health facilities along with better living condition, there has been an explosive impact on the growth of the population, and because of which the world population has rocketed up to 7 billion, and a similar trend of the growth of the population can be seen in India also, where the population has crossed 1.3 billion. Now can you imagine it, this 1.3 billion? It means every 6th or 7th person of the world, every 6th or 7th person of the world is Indian. Can you imagine it? Now, what is the reason, what are the main factors for increase in human population in the last few decades? So there are two main factors which have increased the human population. The first one is the decreased rate in maternal mortality rate and infant mortality rate, means decreased MMR and IMR. Decrease in MMR and IMR means decrease in maternal mortality rate and infant mortality rate because of the well medical facilities. And the second is an increase in number of people in reproducible age. An increase in number of people in reproducible age means marriageable age. Say for, if I talk about the India, then India population is called as a young population, means the generations, or there is an increase in the number of people in the reproducible age, and that's why the explosion of the population has been seen in India and some more other countries. Now, okay, population explosion occurred, but what are the consequences of the overpopulation? So we all know that overpopulation is not good for that nation, for that particular person, anything. Okay, so there are consequences of the overpopulation. Number one is poverty. You know very well that those countries where overpopulation is there are suffering from the poverty, shortage of food supply, because so much big population is there. So it's not necessary that each and every person will get the enough food. So there will be shortage of the food supply. Unhygienic conditions, because people are not having the proper spaces to live. They are living in small spaces, and that leads to unhygienic conditions. Fourth is unemployment. This is the major thing related to the overpopulation. Unemployment, all the people will not be employed. Housing problem, all will not get the housing. I can say that in fact in Hindi we can call it as that all people will not get the roti, kapda and the makan, right? So housing problem is there. Pollution will be there. Pollution is the major cause of the overpopulation. And education problem, all the people will not be getting the education. So these are the consequences of the overpopulation. Now the government has decided to control this overpopulation. Government is trying its level best, but still world over and particularly in India also, we are not able to control this population explosion. So to control the population, government has actually used certain parameters that the number one is education. The education, proper awareness education must be given to the couples of marriageable age, and they must be educated of the advantages of the small family, right? They must be given the information about the advantages of the smaller families and the disadvantages of the bigger families. So education can play a bigger role in population control. Marriageable age, in India, if I talk about India has raised the marriageable age in male as well as the female. The female age for the marriage is now raised to 18, and the male age for the marriage is now raised to 21. Means a female or a male cannot be married before 18 in the case of the girl, and not before 21 in the case of male. So marriageable age has been increased. Incentives should be given. Incentives are given to the couples who are actually promoting small families. Those couples who have 1 children or maximum 2 children, they must be given incentives. Okay, they must be given incentives. And the fourth one is family planning. Family planning means these are the birth control measures, right? These are the birth control measures by which we can control the population. Okay, so population explosion, we were talking about the population explosion, and if we want to stop this population explosion, then the persons must be aware of the birth control options. So now we will be dealing with the birth control options. Now to avoid the population explosion, certain birth control methods are used. Now what is the use of these birth control methods, or how they are working? So they work to prevent the sperm transport to the ovum, means they can prevent sperm transport to the ovum so that the fertilization will not occur. They can prevent the ovulation, or they can prevent the implantation of the early embryo in the uterus. Now the birth control methods are classified in 2 categories. One are known as the temporary methods, and another are known as the terminal or permanent methods. The temporary methods are temporary, means they are reversible, but the terminal or the permanent methods are irreversible. Fine. So if we talk about first the temporary methods, then temporary methods fall in 2 categories. One are known as the natural methods, and another are known as the barrier methods. Fine. So now these natural methods work on the principle of avoiding chances of ovum and sperm meeting. Means they are just working on the simple principle that they avoid the sperm and the ovum meeting. And if we talk about these natural methods, then they fall in 3 categories. The number 1 is the periodic abstinence, number 2 is the withdrawal or the coitus interruptus method, and number 3 is the lactational amenorrhea. Okay, now first method, periodic abstinence. Abstinence means to avoid. In this method, a couple avoid the sex, the couple avoid or abstain the sex or the coitus or the copulation from day 10th to day 17th of the menstrual cycle, when ovulation can be expected. Why? Because the chances of fertilization are very high during this period. So it is, as this period is called as a fertile period. Therefore, by abstaining or avoiding the sex during this period, conception could be prevented. Is it clear or not? What is periodic abstinence? Abstinence means avoiding. Means it is a method. It is a method to avoid sex for few particular days. Means it is one such methods in which the couple avoids or abstains from coitus or copulation or sex from day 10th to day 17th of the menstrual cycle, when the ovulation can be expected, as chances of fertilization are very high during this period, and this period is called as a fertile period. Therefore, by abstaining from coitus during this period, the conception can be prevented. So it is a simple natural method where there is no use of any artificial barrier. Number 2, its simplest method, withdrawal or coitus interruptus. What is this method? It is a method in which male partner withdraws its penis from the vagina just before the ejaculation so as to avoid insemination. It's a simple method. First of all, the male inserts the penis into the female vagina, but as soon as male feels that the insemination will occur or the semen will be ejaculated into the female vagina, just before that male will withdraw its penis. So what will happen due to the withdrawal? What will happen? That the semen will not be inoculated or ejaculated into the female vagina, and the sperm will not reach into the female genital tract. So this is called as a withdrawal or coitus interruptus, but it is not a trusted method, and in this case many times the sperm is ejaculated and the female may become pregnant. So it is not a trustful method. Number 3, lactational amenorrhea. Lactational amenorrhea. What is amenorrhea? Absence of menstruation. Amenorrhea means absence of menstruation. Absence of menstruation during intense lactation. This method is based on the fact that ovulation and therefore the cycle do not appear during the period of intense lactation following parturition. What this method says, that just after the childbirth, that is just after the parturition, up to the age of 6 months, right? Remember this thing. As soon as the parturition occur, the baby birth occur. But what happens that in that female there is lack of menstruation, that is there is lack of menstruation up to the 6 months when the mother is intensely feeding her child. During that particular 6 months period, what will happen? There will be absence of menstruation, and we know very well if there will be absence of menstruation, there will be no release of hormone, and if there will be no release of hormone, then if the male ejaculates the semen, then also there is no possibility of the fertilization. So this is a natural method. Nature has created this method. So absence of menstruation, this method is based on the fact that ovulation and therefore what we want to say, the cycle, that is the menstrual cycle, do not appear during the period of intense lactation following the parturition. Means just after the parturition up to 6 months there is no menstruation occurring in the female, so definitely no ovulation will occur. Therefore, as long as the mother breastfeeds the child fully up to the age of 6 months, chances of conception are almost nil. This method has been reported to be effective only up to maximum period of 6 months after the parturition. This method is applicable only maximum up to the 6 months after the parturition. Why? Because after the 6 months, what will happen? The menstruation cycle will start in the female, and female will start ovulation and she will produce the ovum. So if the male ejaculates the semen into the female, then fertilization will occur. Alright. So these are the 3 methods, temporary methods, or we can say it as natural methods. As no medicines, here you have seen no medicines or no devices, no external devices are used in this method, and hence there is no side effect. But it is also true that chances of failure of this method are very much high. Chances of failure of these methods are very much high. So these are the natural methods what we have discussed in the temporary methods, and now we'll be dealing with the barrier methods, which are very, very important. Now let's discuss about the another temporary method, and that is known as the barrier methods. Okay, means here some artificial barrier will be used which will avoid the sperm and the ovum meeting. In barrier methods, ovum and sperm are prevented from physically meeting with the help of the barriers, and these barriers are available for male also as well as the females also. The best barrier method, which is most popular one world over, and that is known as the condoms. Now condoms are made up of thin rubber or latex sheet that are used to cover the penis in the case of the male, or the vagina and cervix in the case of the female, just before the coitus, so that the ejaculated semen would not enter into the female reproductive tract. This prevent the conception. Definitely, if the sperm and the ovum will not meet, then the conception will be then what will happen? The conception will be prevented. So again I am repeating, condoms are made up of thin rubber or latex sheet that are used to cover the penis in the case of the male and the vagina and cervix in the case of the female, just before the coitus, so that the ejaculated semen would not enter into the female genital tract or the reproductive tract, and definitely this will prevent the conception. And it is the most popular barrier used world over because it is not having any side effect. Nirod is a popular brand of condom for the male in India. In India, popularly these condoms are called as the Nirod. It has become a brand. They also prevent, not only this, the condoms are nowadays used in recent years, they are tremendously used. Why? Because to prevent the STD, sexually transmitted diseases, and the AIDS. Okay, the biggest thing to avoid the AIDS is to use the condoms, right? And both male and female condoms, this is the male condom, this is the female condom, both male and female condoms are disposable, means they are thrown after use. They are not reusable and can be self-inserted. And the very important thing about the male and the female condoms is that it can be self-inserted. There is no professional help required to wear a condom, male or a female condom. It can be self-worn. It can be self-inserted. In the case of the male, it can be inserted on the penis, and in the case of the female, it can be inserted in vagina and cervix. And therefore, it gives privacy to the user. It gives the entire privacy to the users, and that's why they are user friendly. This is male condom and this is the female condom. Male condom is inserted on the penis, female condom is inserted in the cervix or the vagina. Fine. Now, the another popular barriers are diaphragms, cervical caps and vaults. Alright, diaphragm, cervical caps and vaults. This is the diaphragm, this is the cervical cap, and this is the vault cap. Alright. Now, diaphragm, cervical caps and vaults, these are also made of rubber. And they are inserted into the female reproductive tract. Right? It is not used by the male. It is actually inserted into the female reproductive tract to cover the cervix, And cervix is the lowermost part of the uterus, found just near the vagina. So they are inserted into the female reproductive tract to cover the cervix, before the coitus. So what will happen if the male ejaculates the semen into the female vagina? Then also they will not go beyond the cervix. Why? Because they will be collected in these diaphragms or the cervical caps or the vaults. So they will prevent conception by blocking the entry of the sperms to the cervix. Means the sperm will not move beyond the cervix, and they are reusable. Now the biggest thing is that they were disposable. Condoms were disposable, but all these diaphragm, cervical caps and vault caps are reusable. Now let's talk about the first one, and that is known as the diaphragm. It is a soft rubber cup. Like this type. It is a soft rubber cup that covers the entrance of the uterus, that is the cervix. It prevents the sperm from reaching the egg. So this is the diaphragm, which is a soft rubber cup-like structure. Cervical cap. Cervical caps are also similar to diaphragm, but they are little bit small in size. So cervical cap, it is a miniature diaphragm that covers the cervix closely. So this is the miniature form of the diaphragm. And what about the vault cap? It is a hemispheric dome. Dome-shaped structure like this. It is a hemispheric dome like rubber or plastic cap with a thick rim. Its rim is very much thick. This rim is very much thick. So this is the vault cap. Okay. So these are the popular barrier methods: condoms, diaphragms, cervical caps and vaults. Alright, the diagrams are also given. Now let's talk about some other barrier methods, some more barrier methods which are used, or some more birth control options which are used. Now to prevent the conception, we have studied two methods which are temporary. Alright, that is, the first one was known as the natural method, the second was known as the barrier method, and coming to the third method, that are known as the chemical methods. Now what are these chemical methods? Chemical methods means actually spermicides. We are calling it as spermicides. Why? Because they will kill the sperms. So foam tablets, certain foam tablets, certain creams, jellies and paste are inserted in the vagina before the sexual intercourse to prevent the sperm from entering into the uterus. And what these spermicide creams or the tablets consist of? They actually, spermicides means what? They kill the sperms. So these contain spermicides which kill the spermatozoa, such as lactic acid, citric acid, boric acid, zinc sulfate and potassium permanganate. All these acts as spermicide and they kill the sperms. Fine. Now coming to the fourth device, which is also a temporary device to prevent the conception, intrauterine device, most popular in India. Intrauterine devices, which are popularly called as IUDs. Now IUDs are inserted by an expert doctor or a nurse into the uterus of the female through the vagina. And these devices are presently available in three forms. The first form is non-medicated IUDs, which are also called as the Lippes loop, copper releasing IUDs, which are very popular. Copper releasing IUDs are copper T, copper 7 and multilode 375, and the third one, that is the hormone releasing IUDs. The two popular hormone releasing IUDs are LNG20 and Progestasert. Question was asked in NEET exam from here. Right, now what do these IUDs do? IUDs increase phagocytosis of sperms. You know what is phagocytosis? Phagocytosis is engulfment of the sperm within the uterus, and the copper ions released suppress the sperm motility. They suppress the sperm motility. The copper ions released suppress the sperm motility and the fertilizing capacity of the sperms. Alright, and the hormone releasing IUDs makes the uterus unsuitable for implantation and the cervix hostile to the sperms. Clear? So as I have said you, IUDs are the ideal contraceptives for the female, and in India it is one of the most widely used method as an contraceptive. Are you getting or not? Now the fifth one, which is also a temporary method, but this time it is a totally different method, and it is called as the oral contraceptive pills, which are also called as oral pills. And these oral pills are taken orally, that's why called as the oral pills, and they are used in the form of tablets. And therefore they are called as oral pills. And what is the procedure to take these pills? The pills must be taken in particular days. Alright, then only they will be acting as an ideal contraceptive. So pills have to be taken daily for 21 days. Pills have to be taken daily for how many days? 21 days. The menstrual cycle is of 28 days. So the pills have to be taken daily for at least 21 days. And how it has to be started? It should be started within the first 5 days of the menstrual cycle. Means the female must start these pills right from the first 5 days of the menstrual cycle, and she has to take up to how many days? That is 21st days. Now what that female will do after a gap of 7 days. Now 28 minus 21, that will comes out to be 7 days. So after 21 days, a female will keep a gap of at least 7 days. Within these 7 days, means 22nd to 28th day, she will be not taking any pill. After a gap of 7 days, it has to be repeated. Again, after a gap of 7 days, she will be repeating the pills. And what does these pills do? They inhibit the ovulation. They inhibit the ovulation process and also the implantation process. Alright. And pills are very effective with lesser side effects. Though they have a little side effect, but it is not so much high. Alright. And the pills contain either the pills contain progestogen combination, either the pills contain only progestogen, or the pills may contain progestogen estrogen combination, or the pills may contain progestogen estrogen combination. And remember this thing, that these oral contraceptive pills may be found in two forms. One is the mini pill and another is the combined pills. Mini pills contain only the progestogen only. They contain only progestogen. And the best example of these mini pills is Saheli. As you know very well, this is once a week pill, and it is a non-steroidal preparation and was prepared by Central Drug Research Institute, CDRI, Lucknow. Alright, say for here it is written the Saheli. Alright, and another one is known as the combined pill. Another is called as the combined pill. As the name is indicating, combined pills means it contains progestogen estrogen combination. Say for the popular names are the Mala D and the Mala N. Alright, these are also popular pills used in India. So until we have discussed how many methods? 5 methods. Coming to the 6th method. Now the 6th temporary method of the contraceptive is the subcutaneous implant. As the name is indicating, it is actually implanted under the skin. Those females who need the contraception for a long period of the time, they prefer this one. It is not so much popular, but nowadays it is taking place. Generally made of progesterone, particularly it is made up of synthetic progesterone. It acts similar to the oral contraceptive by blocking the ovulation, and as well as it thickens the cervical mucus to prevent the sperm transport. Okay, now the best implant which is now used at present in the modern era is the 6 matchstick sized capsule, like this. 6 matchstick like capsules which are containing the steroid are inserted under the skin of the inner arm, above the elbow. And these capsules, which are matchstick like, these capsules slowly release the synthetic progesterone for about how many months? For how many years? 5 years. Means if the female has taken these implants of the synthetic progesterones, then she get rid of the pregnancy for how many years? At least 5 years. And they are safe, they are not having side effects, and they are long lasting, but not so much popular at present in India. Coming to the 7th one, that is hormone injections. Nowadays hormone injections are also given to the females in the duration of 3 months. Alright, these are progesterone derivative injections. Injection is given once in every 3 months, and these injections release a hormone slowly in the female body and prevent the ovulation, and it is also convenient and highly effective method. Fine. And the last temporary contraceptive what we are dealing with, and that is known as the emergency contraceptive, that are called as the emergency contraceptive. Now when these emergency contraceptives are taken, suppose if the condom is broken down, or because of casual unprotected sex, if the female gets the semen of the male, and if she don't want the pregnancy, or if she want to avoid the pregnancy, then in that case the female can take these emergency contraceptive within 72 hours of the coitus. Within 72 hours of the coitus. After 72 hours they will not work. After 72 hours they will not work. So we are discussing this one. Administration of the progestogen or progestogen-estrogen combination or the IUDs within 72 hours of the coitus or the copulation or the sex have been found to be very effective as emergency contraceptives, as they could be used to avoid the possible pregnancy due to rape or casual unprotected intercourse. Unprotected intercourse. The popular emergency contraceptive pills which are available in the market are Unwanted 72, which is a very famous product of the Mankind Pharmacy. iPill. Many more are available in the market. Say for pill 72 also is available. So they are effective, more effective in first 24 hours. Means after the coitus, if the female is taking these emergency pills in first 24 hours, so they will be definitely working and the female can avoid the pregnancy. Alright. So here are the 8 methods which we have studied in detail. They were all temporary methods. They were called as temporary because when the female will stop the use, then she can undergo the process of ovulation, and when the sperm will meet to the ovum, so the pregnancy can exist. Are you getting? Now coming to the termination or the permanent methods. The termination or the terminal or permanent method. Termination methods or the permanent methods of the birth control. Now if the female seeks that she don't want to use any of these temporary contraceptives and she wants to get rid of the pregnancy forever, then she can go for termination or permanent methods because these will not be irreversible. Are you getting? So these methods can be used by a male also and the female also, because these type of the permanent methods are available for male also as well as the female also. And what is the role of these permanent methods? That they block the gamete transport permanently. Say for in the male they will stop the transport of the sperm, and in the female they will stop the transport of the ovum. And these are also called as sterilization methods, also called as the surgical methods. Say for we will be talking about 2 popular sterilization or the surgical methods which are used in male and female, and that are vasectomy and tubectomy respectively. Vasectomy is done in male. You have already studied the reproductive system and you know very well that the duct which carries the sperm is known as the vas deferens. So what happens? A small part of the vas deferens is removed and the cutted ends are tied up. Alright, and the incision is kept or put in the scrotum. Means at the scrotum region. Scrotum is the region where the testes are found. So in the scrotum region, a small small incision is done by the doctor, and as soon as the incision will be done, what will be able the vas deferens will be exposed. That vas deferens will be cutted and the cutted ends will be tied up, and this will permanently block the transport of the sperms. Similarly, the tubectomy is done in the case of the female. Remember this thing, don't be confused. Vasectomy is done in the case of the male, tubectomy is done in the female. What is tubectomy? Here a small part of the fallopian tube. You know very well that ovum is transported through the fallopian tube. So a small part of the fallopian tube is removed or tied up through a small incision in the abdomen or through the vagina. Alright, and this is done in the female. So in female the surgical methods are tubectomy, and in the male the surgical methods are the vasectomy. So these were all the birth control options. These were the birth control options. Are you getting? Which are available, and we have discussed both temporary methods as well as the permanent methods. Are you getting? Now we are coming to a new topic which is very important one, and that is known as the medical termination of the pregnancy. That is known as the MTP. Now what is MTP? Medical termination of pregnancy. Medical termination of pregnancy means intentional or voluntary termination of the pregnancy before the full term is called as MTP or induced abortion. Means if a female doesn't want the child or she don't want to continue the pregnancy, then she can remove her pregnancy. Alright, particularly in India it is legalized. So intentional or voluntary termination of the pregnancy before the full term is called as the MTP, or it is also called as the induced abortion. She can go to the doctor and ask for MTP. Now, nearly 45 to 50 million MTPs are performed in a year all over the world, and which accounts 1/5 of the total number of the conceived pregnancy in a year. Means out of the total conceived pregnancies, 1/5 pregnancies are terminated, that is by the MTPs. Alright, so nearly 45 to 50 million MTPs are performed in a year. Obviously, if you will see that MTP has a significant role in decreasing the population, it is having the significant role in decreasing the population, but it is not meant for that purpose. We cannot say that MTPs are performed so it is good and it is reducing the population. It is not meant for that purpose. Now the question arises, why MTPs are performed? Why MTPs are performed? Why a female wants to remove the pregnancy? So why MTP? To get rid of unwanted pregnancy either due to casual unprotected intercourse or failure of contraceptive use during coitus or the rapes. Means why a female want to get rid from this pregnancy? To get rid of unwanted pregnancy either due to casual unprotected intercourse. Say for if the couple has undergone casual unprotected intercourse and they have not used any contraceptive, and in that condition if the ovum and the sperm will meet, then the pregnancy will exist, but that couple doesn't want to seek the child at that time, so they can go for the MTP. So to get rid of unwanted pregnancies either due to casual unprotected intercourse or failure of contraceptive used during the coitus or the rapes, in that condition MTP is performed. Second condition, MTPs are also essential in certain cases where continuation of the pregnancy could be harmful or even fatal either to the mother or to mother and fetus both. So this is the real use basically of the MTPs. MTPs are also essential in certain cases where the continuation of the pregnancy may be harmful for the mother or the child both. In that case also the MTP is performed. Now MTP is not legalized in all the countries. It is legalized definitely in India, but it is a matter of debate that whether to accept or to legalize MTP or not is a matter of debate upon many countries. Why? Because this issue is associated with the emotional, ethical, religious and social issues involved with it. So Government of India has legalized MTP in the year 1971 with some strict conditions to avoid its misuse, because nowadays it is misused, right? Instead of MTP, the doctors are performing the killing of the female feticide. Alright, so with some strict conditions to avoid its misuse, the Government of India has legalized the MTP in the year 1971. Such restrictions are all the more important to check the indiscriminative and illegal female feticide which are reported to be high in India. Are you getting? Such restrictions are very important, particularly in the case of the India, because nowadays if some couple comes to the doctor and says that they want to go for the sex determination test, and if the female feticide is actually surviving in the female uterus, then kill it off. So the doctor will say, no, I cannot do this one. It is against the law. But I have a process for that one. But for that you have to pay me 50,000 rupees. So the couple will ask, what I have to do it? So he will say that I will perform the killing of I will be removing your female feticide, but in the prescription I will be writing the MTP. So it's a big tool in the hands of the doctors that they are performing the illegal killing of the female feticide and writing on the prescription that they have performed MTP. Why? Because MTP is legalized in India according to 1971. Are you getting? So MTPs are considered relatively safe during first trimester. If some female wants to remove her pregnancy intentionally or induced abortion she wants to perform, then the MTPs are considered relatively safe up to first trimester, means first 3 months, or I can say 12 weeks of pregnancy. If she wants to remove her pregnancy in the second trimester, that is in the 4th month or the 5th month or the 6th month, it becomes much riskier. It becomes very much riskier, and in such case the female can die also during the removal of the fetus. MTPs are performed illegally. Now see here, what is the problem with India? Many females who want to remove their unwanted pregnancy, they are actually not going to the qualified doctors, they are going to some unqualified quacks. So MTPs are performed illegally by unqualified quacks, which are not only unsafe but they could be fatal also, right? Another misuse of amniocentesis, right, is to determine the sex of the unborn child. If the fetus is found to be female, it is followed by MTP. Which is totally illegal. So this is all about the medical termination of the pregnancy. Now let's have a discussion on the STDs, that is known as the sexually transmitted diseases. Certain STDs, sexually transmitted disease, are also associated with the reproductive health, and they are very, very dangerous. These STDs are the infections, these are the diseases or the infections which are transmitted through the sexual intercourse with the infected person. And hence it is called as STDs, or they are also called as VDs, that is venereal diseases, or reproductive tract infections. Means STDs have two other names also, venereal diseases and reproductive tract infections. Some STDs I have written here, though we have not explained here. The proper time will come in the disease section, then we will discuss. The first one is the gonorrhea, the syphilis, genital herpes, chlamydiasis, genital warts, trichomoniasis, and of course hepatitis B, very dreadful, AIDS. Alright. Now hepatitis B and the HIV, that is the AIDS, hepatitis B and HIV can be transmitted by the sharing of infected needles, surgical instruments, etc. with infected persons. It can also be transmitted through the transfusion of the infected blood to the healthy person, or from infected mother to the fetus. It can also be spread through infected mother to the fetus. Now, what are the common symptoms of the sexually transmitted disease? Though the different sexually transmitted disease have little bit different symptoms, but all the symptoms which are common in all diseases are itching in the genital areas, fluid discharge, white fluid discharge, swelling in the genital region, and slight pain in the genital region. So these are the common symptoms of the STDs: itching, fluid discharge, swelling, slight pain in the genital region. Now, what are the consequences of the delayed treatment? It has been said that STDs can be completely cured, except these hepatitis and the AIDS. All the STDs can be completely cured if the treatment is given at the right time. But when the delayed treatment is done, then what are the consequences of these STDs? See here, pelvic inflammatory diseases. Many diseases will occur in the pelvic region. Swelling will occur in the pelvic region. Abortions will occur. Stillbirth means the baby will die within the womb only. The baby will die in the uterus only. Ectopic pregnancies. Ectopic pregnancies means the the implantation will not occur in the uterus, the implantation will occur outside the uterus. That is called as the ectopic pregnancies. Infertility may be caused, and in some cases the reproductive tract cancer can also occur. These are the consequences of the delayed treatment. So the person must treat these diseases as soon as diagnosed. STDs are more common. It has been seen that STDs are more common in the age group of 15 to 24. Means these age group people are more vulnerable to these diseases. Now, how can we prevent this sexually transmitted disease? So sexually transmitted disease can be prevented by avoid sex with unknown partners. Means avoid sex with multiple partners. Second is always use condoms during coitus so that the reproductive tract infections may not occur. In case of any doubt, if a person feels that he or she is suffering from some STD, one should go to a qualified doctor for early detection. Generally, people are not going because of the shyness, but they must reach to a qualified doctor for early detection and get complete treatment if diagnosed with disease. Clear? So this is all about the STDs. And coming to the last topic of this chapter, that is the reproductive health, which is very, very important, infertility. And nowadays this is a very, very common problem, which is a very, very common problem. And a lot of the couples, approximately 30% couples, are nowadays suffering from more or less the infertility. Alright, infertility is what? Infertility is the failure to conceive within 1 or more years of regular unprotected coitus. See here, if the couple is doing unprotected coitus, unprotected sex, without using, that couple is not using any method of contraception, but then also if one or for many years, if the female is not able to conceive the child, then it comes the case of the infertility. Infertility is the failure to conceive within 1 or more years of regular unprotected coitus. See, if the couple is taking some contraceptive, then it's alright, the pregnancy will not exist. But if the couple is not taking any contraceptive, or they are undergoing unprotected coitus, they are not using any contraceptive, but then also if the pregnancy is not existing or the female is not able to conceive, then it comes under the case of infertility. And generally in India, it is been seen that female is blamed for the infertility, but it's not entirely, but it is not true at all. The infertility may be in male also, the infertility may be in female also. In the case of the males, say for if the male is not able to produce the proper sperms, proper count of the sperm, then he will not be able, he will be sterile, he is not fertile. And if the female is not able to produce ovum, she will come under the case of infertility. So it can occur in male as well as female also. And the reasons of the infertility may be many reasons. It may be some physical reason, it may be congenital defect since birth, it may be due to diseases, it may be due to some drug effect, it may be immunological, or it may be also psychological. It has been seen that in certain cases infertility may be psychological also. And infertility is caused by defect in male or female or in both. Means it's not true that infertility always occur in the female only. Infertility can occur in male or the female, or male and female both. Alright. So now, how to treat these infertile couples? How to treat these infertile couples? So there are many assisted reproductive technologies. There are many assisted reproductive technologies which have given these infertility couples a new form of life, right? So we will be discussing now assisted reproductive technologies, that is known as the ART. Now these infertile couples can be assisted to have children through special techniques, and these special techniques are called as assisted reproductive technologies. Very, very important. Assisted reproductive technologies. And these assisted reproductive technologies are shown here. We will discuss at least 4 assisted reproductive technologies. alright, which are very much famous. The first one is test tube baby, very common, and nowadays it is very popular among the infertile couples. It is actually nothing in vitro fertilization method. It is in vitro fertilization method where the fertilization of the sperm and the ovum is not done inside the body of the female. It is actually done outside the body in some test tube or petri plate. Ova here, ova from the wife, or if the wife is not able to produce the ovum, then some donor female, then the ovum will be taken from some donor female. So ova from the wife or from the donor female, and sperms from the husband. And if the husband is not able to produce the sperm can be taken from the donor male. So simple, it's a very simple process. Ova from the wife or the donor female and the sperms from the donor husband or the donor male are collected, and both the ovum and the sperm are induced to form zygote under simulated conditions in the laboratory. Simulated means all those conditions which are similar to the female body are maintained in the laboratory. The zygote or the early embryo, remember this thing, the zygote which is formed will undergo divisions, right? So the zygote or the early embryo up to 8 blastomeres stage, you know very well, when the zygote undergoes cleavage it forms blastomeres. So up to 8 blastomere stage, the zygote or the early embryo with 8 blastomere stage is then transferred into the fallopian tube of the female. This is called as GIFT, means zygote intrafallopian transfer. Means here the zygote with 8 blastomeres is implanted or transferred in the fallopian tube. This is called as zygote intrafallopian transfer. Because the zygote is transferred in the fallopian tube, it is called as zygote intrafallopian transfer. Alright, so this is nothing, this is the very common, very popular test tube baby program. So those couples who are infertile and are not having the children, they can use this assisted reproductive technologies, and nowadays there are many chances that from the test tube baby the infertile couples can get the baby. Now if the embryo is with more than 8 blastomeres, remember this thing, then it is not transferred in the fallopian tube. In that case it will be transferred in the uterus. Alright, so it is a sort of, test tube baby is a sort of in vitro fertilization. In vitro means outside the body, in some utensil, in some lab utensil, maybe a test tube or a petri plate. So thus this is in vitro fertilization. What is in vitro fertilization? This is in vitro fertilization. Fertilization occurs outside the body in similar conditions as that of the body of the female and followed by embryo transfer. Clear? Remember, the embryo formed by in vivo fertilization, this is in vitro fertilization. Now the embryos formed by in vivo fertilization. In vivo means inside the body. Embryos formed by in vivo fertilization, that is fusion of gametes within the female, also could be used for such transfer to assist those females who cannot conceive. There are females who cannot conceive. So in that condition the fusion of the gametes is done within the female, within the another female. Are you getting? So embryos formed by in vivo fertilization, fusion of gametes within the female, also could be used for such transfer to assist those females who cannot conceive it. Alright, so the next assisted reproductive technology is the GIFT, G-I-F-T. Now here in the GIFT, in the test tube baby, you have seen that zygote was transferred in the fallopian tube. Here the zygote will not be transferred. Here the gamete will be transferred in the fallopian tube. So transfer of an ovum collected from a donor into the fallopian tube, of another female who cannot produce one, right, but can provide suitable environment for fertilization and further development. Now think of a female who cannot produce the ovum. In that condition, the transfer of the ovum is done, which is collected from the donor into the fallopian tube of the recipient. Are you getting? So transfer of an ovum collected from a donor female into the fallopian tube of another female who cannot produce the ovum but can produce suitable environment for fertilization. Further development means she cannot produce the ovum, but she can provide suitable environment for fertilization as well as for the further development, implantation and all. So such a female will be provided by a ovum taken from some another donor female. So here in the fallopian tube, gamete, that is the ovum, is transferred. So it will be called as gamete intrafallopian transfer. Are you getting? So this was gift, this is gift. Here zygote was transferred, here gamete is transferred, ovum is transferred. Now intracytoplasmic sperm injection, this is also a assisted reproductive technology. Intracytoplasmic sperm injection, ICSI, is another procedure to form an embryo in the laboratory in which a sperm is directly injected into the ovum. Intracytoplasmic sperm injection means the sperm is directly inoculated into the ovum to form the zygote and ultimately the embryo. This is called as intracytoplasmic sperm injection. Now artificial insemination technique. Artificial insemination. What is insemination? Introduction of the semen into the female vagina is called as insemination. But there are some males which can produce the sperm, but they cannot introduce the semen into the female vagina. Alright. So in that condition this technique will be used. That is known as the artificial insemination technique. In this technique, semen collected either from the husband or from a healthy donor is artificially introduced either into the vagina or into the uterus, which is called as intrauterine insemination of the female. This is done in that case when the male, that is the husband, is not able to introduce the semen into the female vagina. In that condition, the sperms are collected from the husband, or if the male is not able to produce the sperm, husband is not able to produce the sperm, then from healthy donor the sperms can be taken and then they are artificially introduced into the female vagina or into the uterus. This is called as artificial insemination technique. Clear? So this was the complete chapter. This was the rapid revision for the reproductive health chapter. I have tried to explain each and every line of the NCERT. So please go through this video 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Alright. So this was the complete video. In the next upcoming days, I will be uploading many more videos based on this embryology and the other topics of the biology. So keep watching. Thank you.